Hey y'all, welcome to the channel. Noah, everyone who reads it must converse. Um, Friday Night Live, baby, we're here. Hey Mark and Deb in the house. Nice to see y'all. We got off track a couple weeks back, and then you were and then I didn't see you last week, so I figured you you were just busy and stuff like that. But it's always nice to see you, and I know Deb is lurking as well. Hope y'all are doing good up there. Last I heard, I thought you had said that it was a beautiful week, right? I've had a beautiful week myself. Hey, Astro Neatly Books, thanks for coming by, bud. Astro Neatly is a brand new channel. You guys should check them out if you like some real, raw, real book talk that is not playing around. He's a strong reader. I like your content so far, and I know Astro Neatly Books uh Instagram more, an Instagram account called Neatly Published. Hey to the Lit House, Yasmin in the house. Nice to see you for sure. I'm gonna talk about Pedro Paramo tonight. I'm just going to because this is the last thing that I read, and it was really cool. Yasmin at to the Lit House. Buddy read that with me. We are buddy readers from here on out. Like it's wild. Borges really done us in. Hey Scott, Bookish Bryant's in the house. Nice to see you, buddy. I hope Becky's around for sure. Mark says it's crazy there. Yeah, I bet it is, man. You know, it's just how it goes. Yes, Becky's in the house. Nice to see you, Becky, for sure. So, first thing I wanted to bring up is the is content ideas because I mean, yeah. Not only did Yasmin and I read Pedro Paramo, we're about to talk. I'll talk about it a bit, but we just did that As I Lay Dying live with Una last night because we crushed As I Lay Dying in like 4 days, and that's being generous. I mean, really, we crushed it in 4 sittings, and we weren't reading all day. I mean, I read after work, you know what I mean, or something, and it was just awesome, awesome reading. Did she really? Yes. Hey, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. I don't know what you did, Mark, but I bet you deserved it. Hey, Christy, nice to see you, Christy Louise from Dostoevsky in Space. And if y'all read the that's okay, Becky. You don't have to. You can claim it. Mark's a big boy. His feelings won't get hurt. It just is what it is. If y'all read in the description, or not in the description, in the title, I said I might have a guest tonight on the live, and yeah, it's Christy. So I can't wait. It'll be fun. But first, I wanted to just talk about content, and this is open for any kind of input that comes from creators or non-creators, any kind of thing. If you're here present in the chat, then throw in. If you're not, if you're watching it afterwards, throw it in the comment box. So I'm really consistent on content. I like to put out 2 videos or lives, two things a week, and then do my kind of way. This is how I do Friday reads, how I do wrap ups, how I talk about what I've been reading, all that kind of booktube chatty video stuff. I do a live for it because I love the I love the interaction that is there. We can talk about the hauls. We can talk about what I've read and what's on the TBR, all that kind of stuff. So, but then I don't create videos like Marching Mammoths. I'm actually taking part in Marching Mammoths. I'm reading the Recognitions by William Gaddis, and I'm almost done. I'm very, very close right here. I'm about 200 pages from the end. And I'm doing this as a buddy read with Mark Nash, Intellectual Reads, and Kathy Grimm from the Grimm Reader is in there as well. but I haven't made any videos about marching mammoths, for example. Talking about what I'm reading, talking about it as I'm going on, that kind of stuff, because I'll do a video on it when I'm done with the recognitions. There's no way to sum that book up. But I feel like it kind of limits me from taking part in the the read along, what marching mammoths is from a community standpoint in that way, because if people don't watch my lives, and the lives are not, you know pointedly just about that, I'm not throwing in videos like that. So I was wondering if if there was any kind of input on that kind of thing. Also, I've gotten to where sometimes some weeks I've done lives all week. I've just scheduled because we're doing Borges discussions, Jasmine and I, and then I had did a live with somebody else, and then it was just like all week long, and that's happened 2 or 3 weeks, not in a row, but like, over the last 2 months, 2 or 3 weeks, I've done lives all week long. And I'm not going to put out videos when I do that. Hey, Kelly at Hooked on Books, thanks for coming by. Nice to see you, as always. So, I was wondering if when I do lives, you get a notification when I put the card up, I'm doing the live, and then 12 hours later, it's posting as a video. And that's a lot of notifications, and it's a lot of this kind of thing. And I was wondering, hey, Beating Around the Books, thank you for coming by. I love your channel for sure. I love your beautiful accent as well. It's just gorgeous. So you tell me, if even, and see, and thank you. I really appreciate that. And these lives is not really what I'm talking about with that. I'm talking about when I do a live discussion, like maybe As I Lay Dying last night, or maybe the Borges discussions that Yasmin and I do, where it's not really a live to interact with people. It's just that's how I do it. Very cool. It's also how I do it to do a community, to do an interactive video with me and somebody else. I'm not going to record it and then edit it or something, or record it and post it later. It's just not, I'd rather just sit down, do it, have fun, and be done with it, and have it post and all that kind of thing. So I don't want it to be oppressive, a lot of notifications, that kind of stuff. I wonder if it's more effective, or less effective to put it as a video instead of a live. And this is a question that goes out to non-creators as well, just people that watch the channel. Are you more reluctant to like watch it or not watch it based on it being a live discussion? Would it work better or worse if I did post it as a video rather than lives? Those kind of things. And is it a detriment to taking into account these kind of reading challenges that we do that are monthly? What is my YouTube channel about? Moto Hero is Jason C.S. Miller Books on Instagram, and you know exactly what my channel is about. It is about my passion for books and literature, brother. So this week, there's the question, and thank you for your feedback, especially Mark and Beating Around the Books, because encouragement's always good, and to just hear that how you feel about it is definitely cool. And if it works well for my style, then that's what I'm all about. I'm just doing what feels right. Um, I've gotten way more consistent with sharing with the community what I read week to week, my reading style, all that kind of stuff, by doing this kind of content live, because I never got consistent with things like Friday reads. I never got consistent with like chatty videos. I would do them just randomly and maybe do like a couple a month or something like that. And so, yeah, thank you. Yeah, buddy. Thank you for coming by, Miller. It's always cool to see you, brother. and a style biter. I want to be the most effective. You know what I mean? I like to share books, and I want to be the most effective because I want people to get into it. And thank you very much, Yasmin. I love being part of lives with you and with others too, just talking books and getting into what we love. And speaking of books that we love, Yasmin and I this week just crushed a very small work. Okay, this is 124 pages, and it's a quick read. It's very poetic kind of language. But it is Pedro Paramo by Juan Rulfo. I didn't know much anything about this going into it, except that he was an influence on. I heard he was an influence on Borges, Carlos Fuentes, and Gabriel Garcia Marquez. So got to read it, right? Especially with it being so short. Just read it. So we got Yasmin and I got two different editions. I think Yasmin is in Spanish. Is that correct? And Yasmin's actually has a foreword by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, and I have a foreword by Susan Sontag in here. And this turned out to be a very, very creepy horror kind of book. Our narrator completely disintegrates in this book. Very cool. Very cool, Yasmin. Thank you. Thank you, Scott. Yeah, man. Yeah, being surrounded by book buddies, baby. That's what we do. So our narrator is a young boy that goes to a town to find his father, and he gets there, and it's a ghost town, literally. It is a town that is not inhabited only by ghosts. There's nobody there, but he's running into people, and there's a little bit of narrative, there's a little bit of interaction and plot, and then that ghost disintegrates. They become not there anymore as soon as they're acknowledged or asked and all that kind of stuff. So by halfway through it, and I'll go ahead and give it to you. It's not really a spoiler. It's just part of the way the narrative goes, but it's not giving any real plot away. The plot is about the town, and the plot is about his father, Pedro Paramo. But our narrator is the son of Pedro Paramo, and our narrator completely disintegrates into the book. Hey, Duncan, nice to see you, brother. Thanks for coming by. Yeah, I always want to. I love it. Once I fell into it, doing the lives, they have been a staple on my channel. I just started a weekly thing. Thank you, Duncan, for that. Yeah, I would immediately leave too, right? It's weird that this kid doesn't leave. It seems like there's a reason why he can't leave, and I'm gonna leave it at that for that kind of part of the discussion. But this kind of thing was so enjoyable and pleasurable and creepy and different than anything that I've read before. And I started thinking, why? What is it about this that is so unique? What is it about the story and the narrative that is so unique? And it's very much cultural. This is a Mexican writer, and Mexican culture has a very kind of ancestor worship is a way to put it. I don't think it's exactly right to term it ancestor worship, but it is ancestor acknowledgement. And there's this kind of thing that if somebody dies and their soul is still, kind of wrapped up in their life, and they're not free, they are consumed by something, an emotion or a situation or something that they've been caught in. Maybe they're not saved in the Christian sense. Obviously, a lot of Latin America, South America is devoutly Catholic, right? And so maybe if they're not saved and they go and they are in a purgatory kind of place, maybe if they are saved and they are locked still, they go into like a purgatory kind of place, right? Well, that purgatory is here. It's here. and it is kind of underneath where we're at, right? I mean, they're here, but they're kind of on another level of reality or something, right? So that's what this book is kind of fleshing out, and I'm seeing that like this kind of thing would not even be so weird and creepy in the way that it is to me, to somebody that is in that culture, from that culture. This is just it's so otherworldly to me, even more so because um as United States Northern Americans, ancestor veneration. There you go. There you go, Becky. That's exactly right. That's more exactly what it needs to be. So how to put it. So I said it's very interesting, and then I started thinking, because there is definite um you see the seeds of magical realism in Latin American writing in this book. It's not magical realism. This is not magical realism at all. But you see the kind of weird scenes, and actually the way that the story is told. We called out that the way that time works in this story is that you get a little bit of the narrative. You get just like a statement. This happened, that happened. And then in the following scenes, those things work out. Those things work out uh in a flashback kind of scene, or in something like that, very much like Gabriel Garcia Marquez 100 Years of Solitude, in the way that you get told exactly what is going to happen, and then you follow a whole story that plays that out, and you see how it happens. That happens in Pedro Paramo, and it was really really cool. And to see that kind of seed thought. Hey, Tom, LA Books, thanks for coming by, brother. Always good to see you, for sure. Ineffable, nice to see you, brother. Very cool. Thank you for chatting then, because the community is what it's all about, and I really appreciate you coming by and watching, even if you don't chat, because then just enjoying the interaction and watching other people interact is totally fine too. You can take part in whatever capacity you want, but it is very cool to see you, and thank you for saying hey, and now the whole chat is gonna say hey to you back, I'm sure, right? Because we're here for some interaction, for sure. I have not seen Obscene Bird of Night, Donoso. I have not come in contact with that. Very cool. Yeah, it was great, wasn't it, Yasmin? What a cool weird book. And I just kind of thought it's so weird. Even I mean, it's weird, period. But it's even more weird because it's so different than my culture. So different than how I look at, you know, the dead souls, right? And so it's just something that might be night beating around the books. Nice to see you. Thank you so much for coming by, and it will be posted. Hey, Danny, nice to see you. Thank you for coming by, Danny. Always cool to see you. And so I started thinking about other cultures that I like their stuff and why. You know what I mean? And one of the first things that comes to mind, of course, is Tolstoy, right? Because I did a big Tolstoy focus kind of last year. I read a lot of Tolstoy. I wanted to focus on Tolstoy and get more. And it was interesting to get into the culture and this kind of very in your face class differences that Tolstoy was uh, kind of riling against with his writing and what he was wanting to do. Very cool. Hey, Emily. Nice to see you, baby. Emily is on her way, or I hope she's on her way. So, of course, the Russian literature, and I've read, of course, Master and Margarita, Bulgakov, and Heart of a Dog, and that's completely different, than Tolstoy. And what is it? Is there any kind of connective tissue uh between those two that is fun, and why I get into it on a cultural way? And I think so. You know what I mean? Because class and that kind of thing just is a major, major function. Hey, Rainbow Sky Gay and Proud, thank you for coming. Always nice to see you in the chat and coming by and hanging out with us for sure. So, what else? You know what I mean? What else is there? Well, Saramago is a writer that I don't necessarily have an affinity for, but I do um have an affinity for, right? So I grabbed Blindness here, and it is very obvious that we're getting a story from another culture, and there is politics and culture um all in Jose Saramago's stories, even if it's not overt. It might be kind of subtext. Thank you, Ken Trap. Nice to see you. And thanks for coming by. And definitely thanks for saying hey. You know? Yeah, not many people do know and get that book. Bulgakov is not a writer that is just talked about a lot as far as when they talk about Russians, except for Master and Margarita, of course. Yeah, Master and Margarita, it took me like 3 different times to try to start that book and get into it, Tom. I had Master and Margarita for a really, really long time. I had it for a really, really long time on my shelf, and I tried to read it for 2 years. You know what I mean? And then the last time I really did just crush it. Then I went for it. Blindness is crazy as heck. Blindness is so crazy that I didn't want to think about it while I was reading it. I didn't want to think about what if. You know what I mean? I read it, I got the story, and then I put it to the side, and I was like, I'm good. I'm good on trying to work into that, or kind of take it in a personal way and see how I would kind of what would I do in that situation or something. I didn't want to think about none of that. It's so horrifying, and I actually put that on my maybe like top 8 books of like horror, to me, horror books that I like, because it is completely horrifying. It's wild, isn't it? So of course we have the Italians as well. People like Italo Calvino. I love Calvino, of course. And I grabbed my Invisible Cities here. This is one that I just keep bagged up. I love Calvino for sure. And then Umberto Eco, of course, is just amazing. And so, but those, there might be some cultural aspect to it, but I didn't really see it because Italo Calvino is so widely traveled, and it's wild how much of the world he saw, and how much really came into yeah, it is gorgeous. Moto Hero got is where I got this edition. Thank you very much, Miller. I love this edition. To have the cover. This is the cover that they put on the first edition hardcover there. But I got a trade. A trade edition. So with Italo Calvino being so widely traveled and him being an experimental writer, there's not much of that cultural. There's nothing much cultural that I could pull out because of that. and Umberto Eco is just encyclopedic. It's very wide. And Primo Levi, I have not read. I have not read any. And see, that's why I'm bringing this stuff up. That's why I want this right here, because we're doing. I'm gonna get all these names and then have some more to work in on, right? And I'm doing Foucault's Pendulum this year, and yeah, can't wait for that one. I can't believe I'm still I still a little sore with Jason has books for taking those videos down. I know he has them on a computer, on a hard drive somewhere. He didn't delete them. I know he's got them on a computer somewhere. He should re-upload them. Find them and re-upload them. Tell him, Mark, you got the means. You tell him you're sitting there at the house. You're in lockdown. You ain't doing anything. Put those Foucault Pendulum up on your Jason Has Books channel for Noah. We'll see if he does it. Yeah, we'll see if he does it. Very cool. So as far as to just wrap up Pedro Paramo, what other of Mexican writers do I have to get into? And this is actually on my 2021 TBR now as well. I'm going to read Terra Nostra by Carlos Fuentes. So this will be, later in the year, late summer, early fall. That sounds about right, right? Let's wait until it gets like dog days hot, and I'll read Terra Nostra. This is a beast. I mean, it's a big book, but it's not that big. It really isn't. It has like 782 pages. So, like 4 200-page books, whatever. But look how many chapters there are. Okay, there are over 100, maybe 200 chapters here. So, it's just you can take them one at a time. It seems like, reading some Borges, and we can crush that, right? It is a good looking book, isn't it? It's a good looking edition. Dalkey Archive knows what they're doing, that's for sure. I actually got, and I don't know if it's gonna make it on my 2021 reads, but I actually got his debut novel at the same time. I found both of these together, so I picked up Where the Air is Clear, Carlos Fuentes. This is his debut novel, and I love debut novels. You know what I mean? I love them, but I want to get some big books off of my TBR, so I'm gonna go ahead and do this. Good. Thank you, Mark. I'm gonna do this, at my leisure. But my focus, what I'm putting on the TBR and what I'm talking about reading is big books, and the little books I'm just kind of reading whenever I feel like, right? Just like I did with As I Lay Dying, Pedro Paramo, that kind of stuff. So very cool. I wonder if Christy is ready to join up, because I wanted to talk about and explore more the kind of things of why we read translated literature, why we read literature from other cultures, and that kind of stuff. Debuts often disappoint. That's I give a lot to a debut. I give a lot of kind of, I give a bit to a debut. And so I read debuts for the ideas. I read debuts for the ideas that are in the book, not for an expert writer. It's not because you're reading an immature writer, a writer that's not at the top of their game. And I say all that when I might be reading a book that totally is. This is a debut novel that is like the most ambitious, most awesome debut novel that I've ever come in contact with. It is ridiculous that this is Gaddis's debut. Why? How? How did it get published? You know, as a debut novel. But it is amazing. I'm not really prepared to give my real thoughts yet, just because I do have 200 pages left to go, and there is some serious goings down happening. Okay, I'm gonna hook this up. Let's see. Hey, Christy.
Hello. Oh dear, where's my camera? There we go. Hey.
Nice to see you. Thanks for
Nice
coming by.
to see you too.
Very cool. And just so y'all know, I hit Christy at the drop of a hat for this one.
I'm always down to hang out.
Yeah, I was like, I'm talking about books from other cultures, and I wonder if you would mind getting on tonight and just talking about stuff. So there's another couple that I wanted to kind of touch on, and one is a Hungarian writer that wrote Blinding here, a mixture between Proust and Borges, if they were on hallucinogens. That's how.
Oh.
So might be awesome, but it's Hungarian, you know. And then
that sounds unique.
Yeah, and then there's Magda Szabo, The Door. I grabbed it because it's an NYRB edition, and
Nice.
this is a Romanian writer. So there's more like deeper European, and I have a lot of personal experience with Eastern writings through Buddhist studies and things like that, and so there's just a lot that I can draw from. But just to kind of get into it, what's some of the reasons why you specifically, are digging some are digging some Russian lit for sure, right?
Yeah.
But why do you dig that kind of stuff? Is there a cultural aspect to why you like it, or what draws you to it and stuff like that? And I got the banner going for you, so everybody's
Thank you, Danny.
everybody's gonna be happy. Yeah, I know, right? 80s vibes. I love it.
Really? Oh, cool. Yeah. Yeah, well, I love Russian literature because so far I have found very few places. Honestly, I like old things much better than new things. It's just it's a thing that I have. So part of it is about age. But I don't like old things from everywhere. So, Russia has really, they have a certain way of talking about all of life wrapped up in their stories. And really, their spirituality is such a heavy part of their writings that it's really fun for me to explore. I feel like, right now I'm reading War and Peace with Jennifer Brooks. And we've talked about this a little bit. It's fun to read from different eras, and especially places that did have really devout, religious populations, because as devout Christians, both of us, it connects. It's a connection that you can't find everywhere. So for me, that's part of why I love Russian lit, is because they are so devout, and it's Christianity, Orthodox Christianity is such a huge part of their writing that they just explore it in such a deep way that I don't often find in, like, say, contemporary American stories. I mean, it's there, but the stories are not as, I feel like the stories of like Russian classics are actually simpler in a lot of ways than American modern stories.
Right.
And the spirituality is very human rather than like bending your mind around concepts, which I find difficult. I'm not a very abstract person. So
well, and so especially with comparing it to, like, I mean, you're comparing like Russian classic literature to American modern literature, which is,
well, America doesn't
completely
have
insane.
much classic.
But
I mean,
but we can compare whatever we want.
I
We
mean,
can
it's just
do it
that
however
American
we want.
literature isn't that old is part of the problem.
Well,
It's pretty young.
why I bring it up is because why I frame it like that is because I think that a good way to look at it is, and I could be, kind of off base with this. There could be better ways of looking at it, that's for sure. But Russian literature was a response to, in a lot of ways, to the culture, to social stuff, religious stuff, and it was a response to, especially in Tolstoy, I see that a lot, that he was writing to fight against, maybe something that is a cultural norm or something that's
Dostoevsky too.
accepted, and of course, right. And there's just so much of that in Russian literature and American lit. There's definitely a lot of, like, kind of critiquing through satire, critiquing the the society, capitalism, and stuff like that, of course. But it is bound up in a creative way, a new way of going at that, I think, and trying to create new things with literature, new things with the.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks.
I think
Thanks,
we're
Miller.
interesting.
Can I put him in timeout? There's a way to put somebody in timeout on this thing, right?
Yes, you can. I did it accidentally on my last live stream.
I'm about to do it. Yeah, there you go. Put user in timeout.
For
Moto
shame,
Hero just got put
Moto
in
Hero.
timeout. That's very funny. He's
This
in
is
timeout for
living it up.
5 minutes, like a little bitty kid. That's awesome. I didn't know I could do that.
I love
So-
the bleakness of Russian lit too.
Yeah.
I find that, yeah, it has such a rich history. Exactly. Yeah, I like the bleakness because a lot of times you come out of it on the other end with an understanding of spiritual things because you travel through like such a dark place to get there that they feel okay with, maybe a preachier ending. Like you see that with Tolstoy a lot.
Right. Ineffable, thank you for that. So when I was thinking through this, he asked if have I read any Japanese novelists, and when I was thinking through this, I was like, man, there's and it just kept more and more of other cultures that I want to experience that I haven't came up when I was
Mhm.
thinking through this, kind of like what I wanted to say and stuff. And I'd love to get into some Mishima, and I mean, just because that kind of thing is, when people read them, they just, this is unbelievable, this is awesome, and it's, you know uh bleak as well, in a human kind of way, as far as what I hear. But no, I haven't read any Japanese novelists, except for like spiritual writings, not
Have you read
fiction.
Endo?
I have not.
Oh, you might like him.
I'm sure I'd like it if it's something that's like out there and big, not big as in long, but big as in, has an impact in a culture, even if it's not my own, or has an impact outside of the culture of which it was written. Then I'm gonna like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm gonna find that stuff that gives it value, and I'm gonna value that. It's just how I do. So is there any kind of cultural writings and different other cultures that you think you would like to get into that you haven't yet? Kind of like me with Japanese fiction.
Oh, I would love to explore more Asian writings, definitely. I've only done a little bit of the pop culture stuff mostly, and Endo for Asian cultures, so I'm very underread in that.
Yeah.
So if you ever head that direction, I'm heading there with you.
Nice. And with that, I would totally go for like literature. I would go for something that's like really serious works. I would totally stay away from the pop.
Yeah.
I don't
I've got nothing against pop anything. I like pop everything, but
Yeah.
I want to go deeper too.
Yeah. With that, just I would stay away from the pop fic, because that's putting out what they're entertaining their culture with. And yeah, you can learn about their culture and things like that from it, but I want to learn about the people, not just,
Mhm.
I want to learn about their minds, and I want to learn about where they come
Their
from. So
philosophies.
yeah, so I mean, I have read, now that I think about it, there's a short story collection called Broken Stars that is awesome. That is just a short story collection of um Asian American, maybe it's only Japanese, not Asian American, but Asian lit.
Mm.
So I don't know if it might be only Japanese. I read it a long time ago.
That
I
would
mean,
be interesting. Now I want to look it up.
especially Chinese literature with a culture that has so many people and that goes back for so long. Chinese culture goes back, um, you know, as long, 5,000 years ago.
Yeah.
And there's this culture that is as big as far as amount of people and what they've done, that we don't understand, that is totally, a different kind of culture that has their own art, their own literature, their own everything. And the only kind of
Mhm.
stuff that I know about those cultures and ways that I've worked into their literature is through their spiritual writings, spiritual teachings, how Buddhism moved through their culture, how, what kind of effect it had, what kind of things um, were kind of embraced by the culture, how it was, how it worked
Yeah.
itself out. That kind of stuff is really, really interesting to me. But I would like to read some fiction too, because I noticed that the fiction has an ability to be so different than
Hmm.
fiction that I get just from American writers, just because there's like a huge cultural idea about, like, well, their idea would be they would write a story knowing that their ancestors are going to be reborn because they believe in reincarnation, right? So
Yeah.
that would be like, they wouldn't even have to say it. That would be like a
It would
subtext
be an
to it.
assumption. Yeah.
Yeah.
That you
And
just pick up as you read. Well, we took great offense, as you
I,
can tell.
I love you, Miller, but for real, this is my jam. My jam, baby. Very cool. So, so we know a little bit how, like, or why certain things have turned us on about different cultures and things like that. I'm just trying to think, is there another way we can work into this? Because it's just an interesting topic to me. Just when I started and got into thinking about I get into why I get into why I got into reading something that was so creepy to me. Pedro Paramo is really, really creepy. It's a wild book, and it was something that you can read in a day, and read it in a day and a half. So if it sounds interesting to y'all, definitely check it out.
I have a question for you, and it might be
Sure,
a slight red herring. So if it is, feel free to ignore it. I'm
sure.
curious what you think about reading the older works of a nation before the newer stuff. Do you think that that's like helpful or important at all? Or do you think it's totally fine to start with modern writers?
Um, so I think it's totally fine to start with modern writers, for sure. But there is something to be said now. I mean, I have been a reader my whole life. So if it was something where I was like, I'm kind of done with classics, you know what I mean? And I just don't, and I just kind of get done with that kind of thing, and I just go only for modern stuff. Then I have a lot of backing of that kind of thing to make that kind of decision. Like a 13-year-old kid that has an interest in reading, sure, but hasn't read much. Just maybe fantasy, like maybe just popular fiction with Stephen King or something, and then says, okay, I want, and gets into like postmodern.
Okay.
Yeah, it gets into not just Faulkner, but like even somebody that's writing like right now, big hard books, like
Yeah.
really talking about the modern culture and
Thomas
stuff.
Pynchon.
See, yeah, Pynchon or something. But look, there's no way to understand what these kind of writers do without having a basis in classics and classical art of all kinds. Art, music, literature, everything. You know what I mean? It's like you're going to miss a whole lot no matter what if you don't have that kind of backing. So I think it's okay to go at it, but you know, when it comes down to it, I don't think anybody really in their right mind thinks they're going to go at, a real modern work and think that it's not drawing from something like, there's always, especially in some works like Pynchon or in what I'm reading now, The Recognitions by William Gaddis, there is so many allusions to other works of literature, other works of music and art. And if you don't know art, if you don't know literature or even classical music, then all that stuff is lost on you, and it's just gonna fall by the wayside. Now, do you need an extensive knowledge of that kind of stuff? No. You don't need to study classical Greek literature in order to understand understand modern works like that even might draw on it. You just have to have some basis of understanding of it, that you know of what it is and who key figures are, things like that. I mean, it's in our movies now.
Mm.
Watch The Immortals. That's a great movie. And you learn, if you watch The Immortals, you learn all about the gods and the and the labyrinth and Theseus and his whole story arc of becoming a god. And it's great. It's great stuff. But it's a popular movie, and it's just entertaining like that. But there's a lot of that. You don't have to go and read Homer's The Odyssey, though I would recommend it. And so what do you think? I'll throw it back on you.
Yeah, I kind of think I don't think you necessarily like have to, because I know there's probably people who instantly enjoyed modern books in school or something. I was one of those kids though who went from like reading children's books, to suddenly reading Faulkner and Hemingway, and I was very confused. I had no idea what was going on,
Right.
but that's just how it progressed for me hopping around with schools and stuff. So, I really didn't enjoy anything I read in school because we didn't read very many classics. But I feel like modern literature has become richer to me as I explore classics more. So I was just curious. It's a Flannery O'Connor idea, actually. That's where I got the idea from. She was like, even though they're long, I've never read that person. Is
Right.
that a Russian? Sounds very Russian.
Right.
I have to write it down. So yeah.
Glukovsky.
Yeah. I'm learning Russian right now.
Glukovsky. Well,
So just
as
throw
we all,
around a few
as
names and
we
I'm
are.
excited.
Right. Very cool.
So yeah.
Yeah. The Glass Beak Game is my next Herman Hesse for sure. And what a great one. Mark, you're so well read that it's just ridiculous, Mark. I love it. And Mark will read anything. He just read for the enjoyment of reading, and that's just what it's about. And that's the kind of thing that I love too. At the heart of it, I read because I love it. I read because it kind of grows me, and I learn stuff, and I never know what I'm going to learn next. And I want something that does that flexes me. That's the kind of stuff that I'm looking for. And
See, it's the same for me, but I'm not on near the same level as you are with my experience of literature. So what flexes you breaks me.
I appreciate you saying that. I take it as a compliment.
Do.
But
It's
um,
well earned.
I mean, what? Okay, As I Lay Dying broke me
Really? They
this
made me
week.
read that in high school.
This week, I never read it before.
It's
I didn't
intense.
know what it was about, and I didn't read it before. When when
Mhm.
when when Jules' back was black after the fire and saving everybody, and Cash's leg was black because they poured concrete all over it and had to bust it off, and it was just ridiculous. I was completely in a state of just like feeling so sorry for this family, and I'm just like, what is going on here? Why is the dad not doing? He's completely incompetent. Somebody help these kids. You know what I mean? It's horrifying. And there's nothing takes away the emotional responses to a good story. No matter what, no matter how, I can read a big, huge, amazing book like The Recognitions here. There's stuff in that has totally wrecked me,
Yeah.
but it doesn't take away from something like As I Lay Dying. I mean, I read it, like I said, in 4 days. That, but it was just mind blowing. And nothing can take away from that. You know what I mean? From that work being as powerful as it is. And the same thing with the classics and all this other kind of stuff.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
I
Yep.
think so. Yeah. Edith Hamilton.
Because I know people who read the mostly dudes, to be honest. There's a lot of dudes in my high school, like AP Lit classes and stuff, who really liked American Lit as we were reading it in high school, even as I was completely lost and not enjoying myself. So you can definitely still enjoy it
Right.
for the emotional response, even if you don't have a huge foundation.
Right. And yeah, I mean, there's so much of that in Faulkner, especially that is like allusions to stuff and, you know, this kind of poetic using maybe themes and that kind of stuff. At one point in the buddy week of As I
Mhm.
Lay Dying, we all needed to take a break for sure. It
I really
was,
enjoyed your live show.
thank
That
you.
was
I
fun.
appreciate that. It was fun, so fun. And yeah, I mean, but without those, As I Lay Dying, like I tried to, I kind of, I'm not fully in this, like, I wouldn't argue this point, but I think that As I Lay Dying is totally a character kind of driven novel because you feel for these characters and you get so into them by their thoughts, by their perspectives on the situation. You learn so much about them very quickly, and you have empathy for them very quickly. That when tragedy strikes, you know what Dewey Dell is thinking about, you know, and then this is going to happen, and the same thing with Darl and Cash, and it's very, very quick and easy to feel for these characters, and it's just powerful like that. It's
Well,
done
and you
very,
could
very
see
well.
that in Leslie's response too. Like she listened to it on audiobook and she really it sounds like it really enjoyed it. She really connected with it, even just listening on audiobook. So clearly you can have an emotional response to those characters,
Right.
even just listening to it.
Right. Well, it's a story. It's getting the story. And I think, I don't really throw a lot of shade on people who do audiobooks
Oh, that's
because
good because I
it's
do.
audio. You know what I mean? Like it's the words and it sound, but see, I can't like focus on it like I
Yeah.
can when I'm looking at it and seeing the layout. Sometimes, a lot of times, layout on page, where page breaks are, is huge cues for me of pauses, and in my reading
Yeah.
I get somewhere with that. So but if you do it more, I'm sure you get more acclimated to that kind of thing.
A lot
And
of times I'll listen and then I'll like dip into the text just so I can see what's going on, and that really helps. Also, I love that book, that last comment that you had up there,
yeah,
by Madeline L'Engle. I read
yeah,
like everything I could find on her at one point in my
yeah,
life.
yeah, for sure. I would read anything that I ever see um,
Yeah,
by her too.
she's
Uh,
so unique.
super unique. I love it. And that's what I love the most is unique writers.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I think that's where we connect.
Yeah, I think so too. And we do, you and I both, I think, have a similar kind of thing we're after when we're reading. We want something that hits us, something that is, shocking. We wouldn't like
Mhm.
Flannery O'Connor if we didn't.
Yeah.
And we want to be surprised, and then also we want to, in some kind of way, not in on only certain, only a specific kind of way, but in any kind of way, we want to be asked a question by the text that we have to think about and bring a response within
Yes.
ourself to, not even to talk about, not to tell somebody else, but just within ourselves. What do I think about that? What do I think about how this is playing out, or what just happened in this, or this character, or whatever?
A lot of times, if there's not something that really changes my thought processes in some way or gets me moving mentally, I feel like it's a waste of time to read it. And I feel like that's probably how you feel too. Not that
Yeah.
some things can't just be read for beauty. Like, I think poetry is like beauty condensed into
Oh
like,
yeah.
that's like what
Oh yeah.
poetry does.
And when I was thinking about this kind of thing that I wanted to talk about, of course, poetry came up so much. William Blake. I love William Blake so much. Ineffable says that he prefers Brit lit to American, especially in terms of 19th century literature.
Mhm.
I love British stuff. I mean, of course, the Inklings, Charles Williams, J.R.R. Tolkien, C.S. Lewis.
Yes. I love the Inklings.
Amazing stuff. Earnestly Eston just put out a video where he actually is exploring a book by Owen Barfield, who is another member of the Inklings writing group.
I haven't read anything by him yet, but
Me
I
either.
definitely.
I didn't even know what title to look for, but you know what it is? It's an it's an exploration of language.
Ooh,
It's awesome.
that could be fun.
It
Yeah.
sounds awesome. So check out his channel. I might put it in if I can remember. I'll put a link in the description box to Eston's Earnestly Eston, no space. That's his channel name, and I think it's like his last book that he reviewed. It's
I was
very
just
very
looking at
cool.
Tom LA books on my
Cool.
iPad.
Tom LA Books is somebody to follow. That's for sure. Even
Yeah, I just followed him. He
yeah, for
just
down the
found
road, if
this
you
channel recently.
when you clear your schedule and you're not cleaning much, or you're not reading much, and you're just thinking, what should I read? And you don't have anything on the TBR. When that happens, you can pick up Dante's Inferno and go along with Tom LA Books and have your mind completely blown.
Oh, well, okay, I don't know if he saw this yet, but Jennifer Brooks, that the one I was talking about earlier who really
Yeah,
connects to classics in
yeah,
such an emotional and fun way. It's so fun to watch her. She's doing a Dante read along of the um Hell, Purgatory, and Paradise. And she
right.
actually was hoping that Tom would join her for that and co-host with her for a live show. So I don't know
Nice.
what he said though.
Well, Tom LA Books was in the chat there. If he's still here, he can pipe up. If not, then he can keep us all in suspense, I guess.
Yes.
All right, so we're at an hour, Christy. I want to call it. Is there
All
anything else you
right.
want to? Any other thoughts we got on anything that's been brought up?
That was wonderful. I have
Thank
no
you
more
so
thoughts.
much for joining with me, especially at the drop of a hat. It was really fun. Always
This was
cool to talk,
awesome.
hang out, all that kind of stuff. Thank you, Mark Richardson, Deb, Yasmin to the Lit House, Scott and Becky Bryant. Y'all are the bomb. Tom LA Books, Danny at Spinelli Speaks.
Bye.
Ineffable. Thank you for showing up, or not showing up. You said you show up, but thank you for saying hey, so that we can acknowledge you back for sure. and Astro Neatly Books. Check out his brand new channel. Rainbow Sky Gay and Proud, always in the house. Nice to see you, buddy. Everybody who comes by and supports me on a weekly basis and makes this Friday reads just a lot of fun. I really, really appreciate y'all. It's really, really cool and super special to have friends that'll just jump right on with you too. See
Thanks
you
for the
later.
invite. Made my
You
day.
got it.
Bye.
J Maddox. All right. Later, guys.